New York is recognized.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's all be honest with each other. We are here today, right now, because of anti-Semitic rhetoric from one member of this chamber said again and again and again. We would not be on this floor right now otherwise to discuss this topic. If that member was a Republican, that member's name would be in this resolution, and this resolution would be all about condemning anti-Semitism, and it would be done so forcefully. That member in January had to apologize for talking about a hypnosis of Israel that they have over the entire world. That member had to apologize in February by saying that if you support Israel, it must be because you're bought off by Jews. That member called it an unequivocal apology, even though she filled it with equivocation. And now we're back again, this time by saying that if you support the U.S.-Israel relationship, that you must have pledged allegiance to a foreign government. Except this time that member is refusing to apologize. Even if you gave that member every benefit of the doubt that she had no idea what she was doing, why now wouldn't she be apologizing? Why would she be more emboldened to refuse an apology altogether? I apparently am giving Rep. Omar more credit than the Speaker is, because I don't believe she is naive. I believe that she knows exactly what she's doing. It is an American value, by the way, to have reasonable, legitimate criticism of a government, whether it be the U.S. government, Israel, or any other government. It is not an American value, though, to be hurling anti-Semitic rhetoric. Anti-Semitism must be condemned unequivocally and emphatically. We have members of this chamber who associate with Louis Farrakhan, who says, quote, Hitler was a very great man. Let's talk about a double standard. In January, we all came to this chamber. We condemned white supremacy. We named a Republican member. We kicked that member off of his committees. He can't serve on the Small Business Committee, but this member will continue to serve on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. But no, now we can't come here and just emphatically, solely, forcefully condemn anti-Semitism and name names, but if it was a Republican, we would. It's time to call out these statements for what they are. Pointed, bigoted, unreasonable, illegitimate, anti-Semitic. I commend my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who have been speaking out about all this anti-Semitism. A few members come to mind. Chairman Engel, Congressman Deutsch, Congressman Nadler, Congresswoman Lowy, Congressman Gottheimer. Many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I believe to their core, know how very wrong this is, and there are many other members to name as well. And I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to say thank you to each and every one of them, because support of Israel, support of Jews, standing against anti-Semitism has been bipartisan in the past. It should be bipartisan today, and should be bipartisan for every moment in the future. I yield back.
Comments. We're here today because a member of this body issued a series of anti-Semitic statements. And I couldn't help but think of what justice means and what mercy means. Well, we want to temper justice with mercy. So the first time we come to understand that maybe the depth of what was said was maybe accidental. The second time, maybe less so. And certainly the third time, we now have a pattern. And we begin to wonder how we extend mercy when justice cries out against one who is anti-Semitic. It doesn't help that Democratic leaders have attempted to rationalize and protect this individual, whether it's appearing on the cover of a national magazine, whether it's saying, quote, she did not understand the full weight of the words, close quote. One wonders what more needs to be done to try to eradicate anti-Semitism from this body. Some have said that to specifically condemn these statements and to remove her from her committee assignments would stifle legitimate criticism of Israel. But the problem with that argument is this. The comments made were not directed at Israel, were not directed to policy, were not directed towards the American-Israel relationship. They were instead directed to Americans with the allegation that they have a dual loyalty, which is an ancient anti-Semitic cliche that has been used to target the Jewish community throughout history. How about this in the future? If a member of Congress desires to criticize Israel or criticize American policy towards Israel, maybe they can do so without resorting to an anti-Semitic rhetoric that is inflammatory, unnecessary, and frankly, it's hateful. So we stand here today and we look at a resolution condemning hatred of any kind. Who can disagree with that? I don't. I don't disagree with that. But what I will say is, you cannot temper justice any longer with mercy, with rationalization. Sooner or later, you have to face what the awful truth is. And if someone is going to persist in making anti-Semitic, hateful statements, to bury that is inexcusable. With that, I yield.
He said, because he's right on, he's correct. And with that, I yield a minute and a half to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Gates.
Gentleman from Florida is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Thank the gentleman for yielding, and I fully associate myself with the comments from the gentleman from New York condemning anti-Semitism, full stop, entirely appropriate thing to do. I just think it's curious how we ended up here. I mean, we are having this debate right now because Democrats had an objection to something said by a Democrat. And so they launch off on this drafting project. And then lo and behold, I hear all the remarks on the floor, and a lot of the substance in the resolution is about President Trump and criticizing him and trying to open wounds. And so this is unfortunately becoming the new mantra of the left in the Congress. When they've got a problem that they can't solve, it must be President Trump's fault. It's a lot of the sentiment that we see echoed out of the Judiciary Committee, where there is no Russian collusion. The Mueller report is about to drop. Democrats know it is not going to allege Russian collusion, and so they have to launch an 81-pronged investigation to harass our president. They can't get their own house in order, so everything's got to be the fault of a president who is creating more economic opportunity, reducing unemployment, ending wars, and doing a heck of a job for the country. I thank the gentleman for Georgia, and I yield back.
Finish to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Gomer.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. According to Proverbs, something that people who are practicing Jews and Christians believe, says there are 7 things that are detestable to the Lord. One is haughty eyes, another lying tongue, another hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who stirs up conflict within the community. It goes so far as to say these are things the Lord hates. So the word hate is not wrong in the Jewish and Christian tradition, but anything beyond this is wrong. And yes, there have been persecution of Christians, there have been persecution of Muslims, but anybody who has persecuted a people in the name of Christianity was not acting as a Christian. That is not part of the faith. But what makes this so dangerous, and the reason I will vote against this resolution, is because we came here because of an anti-Semitic remark. And we came here to condemn anti-Semitism. But this resolution, as changed up over the last hour, now condemns just about everything. And the reason that is so dangerous is that anti-Semitism, hatred for the children of Israel, is a very special kind of hatred that should never be watered down. There has never been a persecution of a people like the Jewish people. From 1933 to 1945, over 6 million killed. And it started with little things, hateful remarks made about the children of Israel that grew and grew. And as if it was okay because it was made by somebody who had a grudge, it was let go, and it built until it led to the death of 6 million Jews. And we have to say, no, we will not let it go on. And that's why I'll vote against it. It's watered down.
Expired. January 22nd, 2015, my son Grant was working at a Quick Trip in Mesa, Arizona. An illegal alien came in, dumped a jar of change out on the counter, and wanted to buy a pack of cigarettes. Grant went to start counting the change. The man said, "What, you're not going to give me my cigarettes?" Grant said, "Hey, I got to count your change." At that moment, this man produced a gun. Grant did everything he was supposed to do. Grant gave him the cigarettes. And as soon as Grant did, this illegal alien shot my son in the face, killing him instantly. He then stepped over Grant's body, grabbed a couple more packs of cigarettes, stepped back over Grant, and turned and looked at my son. He wanted to make sure he was dead, because if he wasn't, he was going to shoot him again. These are stories that are happening every single day. As reported by North Carolina Fire, since 2013, there have been over 8,500 sexual assaults against children committed by illegal aliens. 90% of our heroin and fentanyl is coming across our southern border, and 78% of that number is coming across in Arizona, where we're from. 70,000 people a year are overdosing from heroin laced with fentanyl. How many more people need to die? How many more people need to overdose for Pelosi to come to the table and do her job? How many people need to die for Ocasio-Cortez to stop her ridiculous rhetoric about concentration camps? Marianne and I have been fighting for a long time.
Blood on their hands.
Our children are worth it. And Marianne's right. It's blood on their hands. And I'm honored to be with these gentlemen because they're fighting for us and they're fighting for you. You know, I made a promise right after Grant died that I was going to keep fighting for Grant, fighting for the American people. And what the American people don't understand is it's going to happen to them or to somebody they know at this point with so many people coming across our border. If the Democrats want to have so much contempt for our president that they won't come to the table, well, then guess what? I've got contempt for them.